I'm really pleased though, note to self, surprise, surprise, when we actually make a plan and work on something a little at a time, things get done. Who knew? Well, hello, my name is Michelle, and this is episode number 36 of Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. Welcome, welcome. It is Sunday, January 19th. It started out as a beautiful sunny day. It's actually still fairly mild. I think it was 40 degrees just a little bit ago when we went, well, 35 was when I watched this. Car said 40 when we went to the grocery store. But we do have a storm coming in. We're supposed to get, I think, 6 or so inches of snow overnight. So the clouds are starting to build, and then we've got some extreme cold weather. We're talking below 0 double digits wind chills for the next several days. So we're enjoying this mild-ish weather while we have it. I have a lot to share with you today. I have a finished object. I've not had a finished object since well before Christmas. Well, I finished my socks. I guess that counts, but kind of felt anticlimactic because it was so caught up in the Christmas season. Anyway, I digress. I have a finished object. I have a new project, and of course updates on all of my other projects. First, however, I today decided to wear my Teroldego. I'm wearing it a little differently, so I wrapped it, I put it across my back with the two long tails across the front, and then I've just flipped one end and flipped the other end, and so I kind of get this very cross my shoulders shawl look. Not quite as bunchy. A lot of times I'll just wrap it and so it's big around my neck. This keeps it a little more closer to the chest. So that's how I've been wearing this one today. This is one I knit last spring, winter, spring, February 24th. I finished it on May 3rd. I've talked a lot about it recently, so I'm not going to expound on it. I will have it linked below in the show notes. And then Marta, however, let me pull Marta in a little bit closer so you can see what she's wearing a little better. She is wearing a sweater today, and it is called Elphaba. It is by Anarella of Lyrical Knits. Surprise, surprise. It is one that I knit quite a while ago. I cast it on in May of 2019. It took me a little over a year. I finished it on August 30th of 2020. But it is knit out of hand spun. So this is a 100% merino that I had a pound of hand spun or fiber that I spun up myself and then knit into the sweater. It's getting a little bit pilly. But it's really comfortable. It fits me really well. I wore that one yesterday and it was handy, so that's what I decided to put on Marta. On my blocking board today, I have my finished Musselburgh number 6. This is the one for my son Elijah, my youngest. And just in time, well, I actually have a week to spare because he doesn't head back to college until next Sunday. I'm really pleased though, note to self, surprise, surprise, when we actually make a plan and work on something a little at a time, things get done. Who knew, right? But my goal of knitting an inch a day really helped to bang this one out. So it's rather big on me, but it fits him just nicely and he's very excited to take it back. So this is a project that I knit. I cast it on last December. Yeah, in December 12th. And I finished it on Friday, so it took me just over a month considering that Christmas was in there, and really, quite honestly, I did 3/4 of it in the last 2 weeks. That's really quite good. For the last time, I am using Malabrigo sock in the colorway Impressionist Sky, and I used just about the whole skein. I just weighed it and it's 3.5 ounces is what I have left. This one I knit, the first two that I knit for the men in my life, for my husband and my older son, I did so that there are 17 inches between the crowns. My husband actually recently asked me if I would knit another one for him and make it a little bit bigger so that he could really double up the brim. So when I was knitting Elijah's, I decided to see if I couldn't stretch this one just as far as I could. I weighed the yarn after I finished the crown, and I discovered that the crown took me about 7.5 ounces. And so when I was knitting the length, I knit until I had about 9.5 ounces left. So the crown the decreased side must have taken me just a little bit less, or I weighed it differently, I'm not sure which, because I have 3.5 ounces extra. If it took exactly what it took the first time, then that ball should have been around 2 ounces. So I'm not sure what the difference is there, but regardless, it ended up being that there is 19 inches between the crowns, and it's worked out really, really well, both for my husband. I had my husband try it on as well as my son. So now I know exactly what I need to do for my husband's hat. Speaking of which, I grabbed a skein of yarn for him. This is what I will be knitting his hat out of, which is my most recent Yarnables yarn, Intergalactic. I literally just got this, showed it last week on the podcast. So as soon as I finished Elijah's hat, I went stash diving and pulled out a bunch of yarn and showed it to my husband. I'm like, okay, pick one. So I'm gonna get that maybe this afternoon. Later I will wind that up, or tomorrow I will wind that into a cake so that I can get his hat going and keep him rolling, right? So that is my finished object for this week, my 6th Musselburgh hat. In my project bag this week, I have a new project. Should we start with the new project? Yeah, let's start with the new project. So I cast on this week the Easy Goes It DK Weight Shawl with my mandala yarn. This is from Lion Brand. Again, this was the yarn I got for Christmas as a gift from my Secret Santa. So I started this yesterday. I finished Elijah's hat on Friday and decided, okay, time for a new project. So I got this much done already. Of course, DK weight yarn is gonna work up pretty fast. I actually kind of secretly, I'm hoping that I can finish this one this week. There's only 300 or so yards in here. And if I keep charging away at it, I think is actually kind of doable, and that will leave me free. I have a couple of the projects on the horizon. So that's my goal with this one. Where'd it go in my notes? Easy Goes It is a shawl pattern by Finicky Creations. It's a free pattern. She actually has a fingering weight pattern as well. I haven't looked at that one, but I know that this, of course, is the DK weight version because my yarn is actually a worsted weight. So I'm knitting, it has a small and a large. I am following the instructions for the large, and then as I get in there, I'm gonna make some adjustments because I don't have quite enough yarn to do the large as written, but that's okay. It's one of those where you can easily make the adjustments, shorten the number of rows. There's an eyelet section, and I think I'm gonna make the eyelet sections not quite as tall. So I think that will, and then we'll adjust from there. So, but I'm using this as the basis for my pattern, and it is coming out really quite good. It's nice and soft for an acrylic yarn. It's really quite soft and squishy. So yeah, that'll be a fun diversionary knit. I haven't knit with anything other than fingering weight yarn in really quite some time, so that's kind of a fun little diversion, I guess, or digression. All right, how about we talk about my Yorkshire Crochet Along Blanket by Meema Makes. This is the project that I am crocheting out of my Brazos Fiberworks Advent The Grinch that I had this last Christmas. So I have done 3 more squares. So this was color number, I think 17 and 18. These 2 squares are identical. And then color number 19. So I was thinking that I had skipped, there are 12 different squares, and I actually yesterday, here, before I digress. Look, I blocked them all, and I actually can't hold it so that, yeah, so they flip. But you can see them this way. Trust me, they are all nice and blocked and flat and about the same size, and it's a beautiful stack of squares. But I laid them out, I have a picture I'll pop in here. I laid them out and was trying to figure out which squares I had done because I jumped around a little bit. These two squares here are done in the Walk in the Woods design, which is like pattern number 11 or square number 11, but I wanted to do these colors because they are kind of really woodsy colors. And my memory was that I had skipped one of the earlier squares, but as I was laying them out, I must have decided to go back and tackle it when I was in a better mood, because I actually have all 12 of the squares. And so I did 2 of the Walk in the Woods because I was thinking that I needed to do, I had skipped one, I was just going to do 2 of a different pattern. But that is actually not the case. So at this point, I have to figure out which of the squares I want to leave out a second one of. And I haven't quite decided. I have 3 candidates of the 3 that I kind of like the least, as it were. I'm going to work through all of, the rest. And when it comes down to the last 2 colors, I will figure out which 2 of the 3 I am going to do. And that's how it's going to be, and it'll be just fine. But I do have, so the first 16 squares are all blocked, so that's really, really great. I will finish the rest of these and then block them and then start laying them out and figure out how they're gonna go and how that's gonna be. I'm kind of excited for that. This has been a really fun project. So I have 5 colors left, right? 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, yeah, I've got 5 colors left to go. I don't think I can quite get the squares all done this week. I guess maybe, I mean, if I did a square a day, I totally could, and I don't have to work tomorrow. It's Martin Luther King Day, so we have it off. So it's a possibility, but I don't want to put that pressure on myself. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. But definitely in the next couple weeks, I will finish those squares, get them blocked, and then by the beginning of February, be ready to start joining them. So this project is moving along at a clip that I am happy with. How about that? All right, that's this project. The last project that I am going to pull out and show you is my Northeasterly Blanket. I put a few more colors in this week. So let's see. Last week I had done, I looked it up before I started filming, I had done colors number 1, 2, and 3. So this week I have added color 4 and 5 and 6, and I just started joining color 7 in the January box. So this one, it's already fairly heavy. This is going to be a very weighty blanket when it's done, which is kind of exciting because I love a good solid hefty blanket. Sometimes they're just very cozy, very cuddly. So yeah, this one, I think if I can get the last of these colors, there's 12 total, and I'm on number 7. So I can get the last of these joined in. I'm actually thinking I will block what I have so far and then trim all of my, I've been crocheting over the ends as I go, and it's getting just kind of unsightly and it's not as fun to work on. So I'd like to do that, but I don't really, I want to block it before I trim them so that if they shift around at all, they'll have a chance to kind of maybe settle into where they're going to be before I trim them. So that is this project. Oh, I should probably tell you, the yarn again is from Wool & Woman Fibers. It's a DK weight 75/25 superwash merino nylon. It is the Murder She Knit mystery knit along box, and the pattern Northeasterly is by Katy Stevens. So those are my projects for this week. Have no dream, well, that's not entirely true. I do have some dreams, project dreams, but nothing that is dreamy enough to be, actually it's very dreamy, that's the problem. they're not something that's going to become reality soon enough to justify bringing it in that section of the podcast. I have no new additions to my yarn shelf. So we're going to jump and go straight into my day-to-day. It was a really, really busy week. Monday after school, I went to a couple of basketball games at my school. I have one of my students was asking me to go to the games, and he'd asked me a couple of times, and so not last week but the week before he had asked me, and so I looked ahead to see what home games were left and how they would fit into my schedule. And so Monday was like the only day I could go to a home game. So we went and sat through both the 7th grade game and the 8th grade game. It was a couple of hours. I got a lot done. I must have got a couple of inches done on my hat because I brought that with me. The kids are all used to seeing me knit now, so that's nothing out of the ordinary. So I was sitting there knitting away and watching the basketball games. It was a lot of fun. 7th grade game was really quite close. They lost, but they only ended up losing by like 8 points, which, considering that at one point they were down by like 25 points, they worked hard. They battled it back towards the end, and coming within 8 points was really, really great. On the flip side, the 8th grade teams were not well matched at all, in that our boys just walked all over the other team. They won by like, I don't know, 60 something to 20 something. Like, it was almost, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it was really a very great disparity between the two teams. It was fun to watch, certainly, but not necessarily exciting in any way, because it was pretty clear from the outset that we were going to win that game. We have a really great team, and that's, they are coached well. There's some really great talent that is going to be fun to watch as they move up into the high school next year and the next couple of years. So yeah, just kind of where that's at. So that was Monday, and then came home, we were able to relax. Tuesday night, we took out one of my nieces. Her birthday was Christmas Eve, and so we finally got a chance to catch up with her between illness and our trip to New York and my father-in-law's funeral and getting back to school. Like, this was pretty much the earliest opportunity we had to take the poor girl out. So we did. Took her out. She went to go Longhorns and get some, actually I think she got chicken nuggets, as I recall, but and then took her shopping and did that on Tuesday, so we were able to check that one off the list. Wednesday we had actually we didn't have an early release day, the elementary schools had an early release day, and I was doing a suicide prevention training at one of the elementary schools. I think I talked about that a couple months ago when I did the first one. We're trying to get our district caught up on those trainings. So I was responsible for the training this past week, so I did that. That's always exhausting. It's just heavy information, heavy material. It's really super, super important, but just really heavy. So I was pretty tired when I got home from that. We had Bible study that night though, so that was good. Thursday, I had an Honesty of the Mind board meeting. That was virtual. I have a love-hate relationship with virtual meetings. How do you guys feel about virtual meetings? Like, I like that I don't have travel time, right? So it's time to log on for the meeting. I can be doing something right up until the minute I log on. In fact, I had my knitting with me. I was knitting. I just hit click, kept knitting, did the meeting, and hung up the meeting, and poof, I'm done, and I'm home, right? So there is that. But I miss the personal aspect. There's just something very impersonal, and you miss a lot of body language. I feel like it's really easy, and our board is pretty good, I will say, but in some groups, you can have some really strong personalities who can kind of take over, and not necessarily intentionally, but if you're in person, it's a lot easier for them to catch the body language in the room if somebody like wants to say something. Or you take a deep breath in to get ready to say, and people kind of notice that. You miss those cues in an online meeting. So that's kind of, I guess, my one gripe about an online meeting. So that was Thursday. And then Friday, we had another birthday dinner. That was with another niece. Her birthday was only last week, so we're getting closer to caught up, right? We ended up at Margarita's, a local Mexican restaurant. And then Target. And so we've got her birthday dinner taken out. We've got one more this week. And then I will have to schedule one with the sister of my nephew who we're taking out this week. Her birthday's February 8th. So yeah, it's kind of this little window of time here. I have 4 birthdays between Christmas Eve and February 8th that we like to take out. So it's kind of a busy window. So we were able to knock out 2 this last week. So that was really good. And yesterday we just relaxed. For the first Saturday, probably since November, we didn't have things that we absolutely had to do, and we took full advantage of it. I didn't get out of bed until 9:15, I think it was, which is like unheard of because my body typically wakes me up around 5:30 whether I want to or not, and it tried, but I forced myself to lay there and not let my brain engage, and I actually did fall back asleep. I dozed because I woke up a couple of times, and then finally I think it was like 8:15 or 8:30 when I woke up for the last time. But it was so nice, and we just relaxed, and I did a whole bunch of yarny stuff, cast on my shawl, crocheted a square, and then we went and visited my mother-in-law last night, like, you know, we kind of typically do. So, but it was a really, really great. It was nice to relax. There were some things I had thought I could possibly do, but at some point I just decided, you know what? No, we're gonna roll with it, and we're gonna absorb this relaxing time, because sometimes it feels like they're far and few between. But at any rate, that is all I have for this episode. Thank you so very much for joining me. You can find links to everything that I've talked about down below in the show notes. If you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and or subscribe to the channel so you know when I come out with something new. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Knittin Michelle, KNITTINMICHELLE. And also, if you'd like, please feel free to send me an email at michellesfiberstudio@gmail.com. With that, I hope you have a wonderful week and happy knitting.